What's going on, everybody? This is Take His Whistle podcast. We are back with another NFL episode like we are every Tuesday. And just a lot to going on this past week. And we got even better matchups coming up on Christmas. This is the Christmas week. I guess you call this Christmas edition. So just get ready, and we will be back soon.
Steps into it. Pass is caught. Touchdown. Play clock at 5. Pass
Back today, so I got time to be tripping and writing no love song. Yeah, writing no love song. We all experience love.
What's going on, everybody? This is Take His Whistle podcast. I am one of your co-hosts. Some may call me the voice. My name is Parker. And with me always is the hero, my good friend Josh. What's going on, Josh?
What's going on, everybody?
A little Dirk, little baby reference right there, the voice and the hero. But yeah, we are back with another NFL episode. It was a interesting week, to say the least, I would say. There wasn't anything that was like crazy that happened. No, nothing insane. But at the same time, there were a few key matchups that went down that really kind of, I guess you could say, changed the perspective of the league a little bit. And when I say that, I mean more or less the top dogs. So, Josh, if you want to jump right into it, I can get us started.
Go ahead.
All right. So, the first matchup that I do want to talk about was, Josh, I know you're a big fan of them, but the Baltimore Ravens. They went in. Did they go into Jacksonville, I believe? Yeah, they went into Jacksonville, another playoff contending team, and they won 23-7. Josh, did you watch that game? And if you did, was there anything that you kind of took away from the game and that you liked or disliked from either Ravens or Jaguars?
I did not get the chance to watch this game. It was on at Sunday night, and I was a little busy come Sunday night. But due to fantasy, I was getting frequent updates from that game. So I did kind of get the gist of what was happening during that game. And I mean, in all honesty, just through box score watching, you really wouldn't be impressed by the Ravens offense from what you see in the box score. What you do see, and what the one glaring thing is, I feel like this is very common with this team, but Lamar Jackson, 14 for 24, 171 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But on top of that, what some would call mediocre passing game, rushed the ball 12 times for 97 yards. Let's call it 100 because practically is. Outstanding game on the feet. Unfortunately, one thing I did see from that game, however, is the very unfortunate ACL tear by Keaton Mitchell. It sucks to see it this late in the season, especially for a guy like Keaton Mitchell, who seemingly bursted out onto the scene out of nowhere. I mean, out of nowhere. Like, almost had the same hype as A-Chain. Like, that's how good that he was performing in his first couple weeks. And then to go down like this with an ACL injury the way he did, it sucks to see. And I hope he heals very quickly. I hope he has a speedy recovery, and I hope he's back next year playing out of his mind again, because he's an outstanding player.
It just seems like we always talk about how until the season that the Ravens, all they do, if they run the ball, it's all through Lamar. Like, I feel like that's always been a conversation that's always happened with Baltimore. Is they don't really have a run game, they just have a scramble game. But, I mean, you look at it, and I feel like since Lamar has been in the league, they have had nothing but bad luck when it comes to their running backs. I mean, Gus Edwards this is his first year, really, that he's been able to stay healthy, you know? They had another, I forgot his name, they have another running back that was getting in and out of injury a lot. Do you know what I'm talking about? I literally, it's like
Yeah,
I literally can't think of his name.
their starter at the beginning of the year, J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, and which I believe he went out with an injury as well, right?
Yeah,
He's done for the
he
year.
tore his
Yeah.
Achilles.
So I mean, and then now Keaton Mitchell, it's just like, yeah, they're heavily on the QB run game, and Lamar is the perfect person to run that type of offense. But also at the same time, you got to think, I mean, if you don't have a running back that can't stay healthy, I mean, you can't really run the ball at all, and it's gonna have to go through Lamar if you want any type of run game. So, yeah, it's really unfortunate, and it sucks for the Baltimores because I mean, for Baltimore, because I know Gus Edwards, you could say that he was potentially the lead back, but I mean, I feel like for the past few weeks, Keaton Mitchell has been getting more carries than Edwards. Edwards definitely has the more touchdowns on the year, but just overall carries, I think it's gone to Mitchell, especially over the past few weeks. So it really stinks to see such a good team and such high playoff hopes. I guess some people could say your starting running back goes down for the year this late in the season.
Yeah, he's already confirmed out for the season, so
Oh, yeah.
just very brutal. And he was having an outstanding game before his injury, too. 9 carries for 73 yards at the same time in a game where you had a season-ending injury. I mean, that's not a stat line you'd think you'd see from a guy who suffered a season-ending injury. Like that's a stat line that some guys have at the end of games. And, yeah, it just sucks. But one thing that I do want to point out, or a couple things I want to point out, Isaiah Likely might be one of the greatest backups at any position on any team in the NFL. Not only did I pick him up in fantasy once Mark Andrews went down because I just knew he would be great because of what we saw last year, but also the guy's just good. Like, if you watch him play, he's already Lamar's favorite target. Arguably. I mean, I would definitely say he is. He has great receiving ability. Arguably, now, don't get too mad at me, Baltimore fans. I know our buddy Caleb's a Ravens fan, I guess. I don't know.
He's a Louisville fan.
Yeah. I think me and Parker would both agree he's just a Lamar fan. But I feel like that's half of Baltimore's fan base is just Lamar fans who followed him. But, hey, that's fine. If you're a diehard Ravens fan now because of Lamar, hey, by all means, go for it. But, anyways, regardless, again, don't hate me too much, Ravens fans, but Isaiah Likely arguably has better receiving skills than Mark Andrews does. I think Mark Andrews is just a better blocker than Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely is kind of thin. He's kind of built more like a tall receiver. But very good speed at the tight end position, and we see it. We've seen it every week since he stepped in for Mark Andrews, and this week he adds on to his impressive stat lines with 5 receptions for 70 yards and a touchdown, averaging 14 yards per catch. He's going off. He's having himself a little end of the season, and if he can play like this come playoff time, then I mean, we might see a very impressive playoff run by them, led by Lamar and Isaiah Likely in the receiving room at least. But the other thing I want to point out is the Ravens defense, to allow only 7 points to, quite frankly, a pretty high-powered Jacksonville Jaguars defense. Again, I didn't watch the game, but they held them scoreless the whole first half, and then they let them score 7 in the third quarter, and then they didn't allow any points after that. This Ravens defense is special, and I've told Parker before. I don't remember if it was on the pod or if it was. I can't remember if it was on the pod or through text, Parker. But this Ravens defense is very reminiscent of the early 2000s Ravens defense.
Yeah,
and honestly, it's very fun to see because if you're a fan of defense, then, to be honest, the Baltimore Ravens and probably, like, let's say the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Cowboys are really your only teams where you can see stifling defenses like that. And out of those 3, I'd probably say the Ravens have the best defense. And the Ravens defense is just impressive performance after impressive performance this year. And Jacksonville just couldn't figure it out. And it seems like Trevor Lawrence had an okay game, but for how many times he threw the ball, I guess you could say that's not really a performance you want to see from him, going 25 for 43. 264 yards, but only one touchdown. But yeah, I guess you would probably expect more from your quarterback if he's passing that much. But again, from against a defense like the Ravens, it's hard to expect much because that defense is special.
I mean, and I know I have had my concerns in the past, and I've talked about it on the podcast, but those concerns are, I mean, we just haven't seen the Ravens really break through just yet. But as week by week goes on, it's like you have the Ravens right here, and then after that, it just drops off everybody else. Like the Ravens are head and shoulders above the next team in the AFC. Josh, do you think it is, I guess, appropriate to say that the Ravens are the favorite to make it out the AFC this year? Not necessarily win the Super Bowl, but make it out of the playoff, or make it out of the AFC?
By the way that the AFC looks right now, it's very easy to say yes. Because when you look when you look at the other top teams in the league, they're all in the NFC. Cowboys, Niners, Eagles, which the Eagles, I mean, they're like here. They're not really a solidified, powerhouse as of right now, because they're on a little slide right now. And we'll get to them later, but they're not looking impressive at all. And I mean, they're having defensive coordinator issues. I don't know if you saw, Parker, but they literally replaced their DC before this last game, hoping for it to pay off, and it did not. So again, we'll get to it later, but yeah, the Ravens are just looking like the far and away favorites for the AFC. You can say the Chiefs, but again, me and Parker have talked about it plenty of times already. The Chiefs aren't looking impressive at all this season. And after those two teams, to be honest with you, Parker, I really don't know any other AFC teams that I would even put up there with those two teams.
Right.
I don't see any other. You could put the Dolphins up there, but I think the Ravens are better offensively and defensively, as in combined. I think they're a better team. I don't think the Dolphins' defense compares to the Ravens' defense. So that's why I wouldn't put them over the Ravens personally. They did just shut out the Jets, but it's the Jets. They lost their QB at the very beginning of the year, and they haven't looked the same since. They've just kind of looked like the normal Jets all season. But
yeah,
regardless of that, back to your question, yes, I think the Ravens are the clear favorite to get out of the AFC this year. And I mean, yeah, as of right now, I just don't see any other team that really gives them a struggle in the AFC.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I mean, I say that as in, I just don't necessarily want to see the Chiefs. I don't have a problem against the Chiefs, but it's like the Warriors a few years back. Everybody was tired of seeing the Warriors make the finals and win the finals. I think that it would just be nice just to have a refresh, whether even if it is the Eagles on the other side, but just having another team instead of your same kind of mix of the Chiefs and the Eagles, the 49ers, teams that we have seen frequently over the past couple years. I think that it would just kind of be a nice refresh to see Baltimore get in there. But at the same time, it always raised the question, more or less, to Lamar Jackson. Can Lamar Jackson do enough to bring his team to a Super Bowl? I think he can, but we have yet to see it. We have not seen it yet, nor have we really, to be honest, showed any signs that he is capable of doing it. We know that he's great in the regular season, but every time the playoff comes around, he always loses big games. He loses big time moments. So until we see that, which it easily could be this year, they have such a good overall team that really, Lamar Jackson doesn't have to be the star of the show because that's how good their team is. Just off a talent difference alone, Baltimore can make the Super Bowl, in my opinion. It's more or less, will they? Can they actually come together whenever the moments are the highest, all the cameras are on them, all media is talking about them, and I think they are starting to get a little bit of that, I think, especially, like I said, how just of a bloodbath the AFC is this year. I think more and more people are starting to talk about as the Ravens the clear favorite to come out of the AFC. So, I mean, I would just literally be, it's kind of just got to wait and see until the playoffs come, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well,
but there, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, since we're on the topic of the Ravens, we should probably bring up that matchup coming up in a couple weeks. But before we do that, I just want to bring up a thing. As far as AFC competition goes for the Ravens this year, they've swept the Bengals this year. They don't play them again. They went 2-0 against the Bengals. They're 1-1 against the Browns. They don't play the Browns again, but the Browns are up there as far as AFC competition goes. They went 1-1 against them. They're 0-1 currently against the Steelers. They end the season with the Steelers. They had a kind of an off game against them earlier this year. I'm sure they'll bounce back and end the season off right. And then other than that, the rest of the AFC competition they've played, I mean, you've got the Chargers. They beat them. You've got the Texans. CJ Stroud's not even playing right now, but they beat them. You've got the Titans. They beat them. You've got let's see here. You've got the Colts. The Colts are AFC, right? The Colts are AFC. No. Colts are AFC.
The Colts are AFC.
Yeah, they actually lost to the Colts. That was that really good OT game back in September that they had. So ignore that game.
I mean, all their losses that they have are games that 9 times out of 10 Baltimore wins.
It's games that they really honestly just let slide out of their fingertips. It's games they all should have won, but one thing led to another, and then it just slipped away. And, quite frankly, they were all earlier on in the season. The Browns loss being the most recent one, that was 5 weeks ago now. They're on a 4-game win streak right now going into the 49ers game, which is this Monday, which is going to be an incredible game, and I cannot wait to watch it. But I really hope the Ravens can figure it out because, obviously my team's in the NFC. We're on the hunt right now. We're trying to get in there. We're 7-7 right now. We're 500. It's looking.
If the season ended today, you guys would be in.
Yeah, we're on the cusp of it, but with the recent QB problems, it's looking very scary for us. So whether we make it or not, as far as the AFC side goes, I'm really rooting for the Ravens, and that's not just because of Lamar. They're just such an impressive team to watch. That defense, in all honesty, I don't know about you, Parker, but I love good defenses. Like watching a good defense shut down an elite offense is great. I love watching it, and the Ravens are that team, and I'm so excited for December 25th because that game is just. I hope it's a great one, and honestly, you want to talk about great defenses. That game could be a great defensive battle, and whoever plays better on defense, I think, could potentially win that game.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the 49ers Ravens game, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that game will 100% come down to who can get more stops. And I personally, which I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit more later, I think that the edge has to go to the Ravens. I really do. I don't know where I think that game's in San Fran, so that could also mean something. But because I mean the Ravens literally have to go across country to play that game, so that could mean a little bit of jet lag. But overall, if you are talking quarterback to quarterback matchup, I am taking Lamar Jackson over Purdy. I am taking, I think, overall run game, which I say that, but I don't know. I mean, Lamar is one of the best runners, period, in the game. So I don't know, that it's just going to be a really good matchup. I really am
I mean,
excited to watch it.
I'm excited to see what that Ravens defense can do to this offense on the 49ers. Like, can they shut down CMC? Can they shut down Debo and Ayuk? I mean, that secondary for the Ravens is elite. That linebacker core led by Roquan Smith, elite. That D-line, they don't have any elite names, but they've been elite this year. I mean, that again, I don't want to glaze them too much, but that defense is just incredible. And the 49ers defense, obviously they're doing very well since that 3-game skid that they had, but we've seen them give up some points here and there to some teams that really they shouldn't have been giving. I mean, if you really want to talk about their defense was healthy when they were on that 3-game losing streak. And
right, yeah.
Those were losses to the Bengals, Vikings, and Browns. And the Browns' backup quarterback nonetheless. So, and then we're talking about giving up 29 points to the Cardinals. They still blew them out, but 45-29 still, letting up 29 to, I guess, arguably, with Kyler back, I guess some people probably wouldn't call them the worst team in the NFL, but I'm going to call them the worst team in the NFL.
One of them.
One of the worst teams in the NFL. It's probably the Panthers, actually. I take it back. The Panthers are by far the worst team in the NFL.
But still, a low
yeah, but
tier.
still, yeah. And just overall, like the defense, we've seen cracks in that defense. We've seen cracks in the Ravens' defense. It's just whichever defense cracks first, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that if Baltimore can shut down Christian McCaffrey, they win by 2 scores or more. I think that we've seen it in the past whenever McCaffrey doesn't play or when McCaffrey does struggle, that their whole offense just kind of looks out of sync. They really, everything goes through McCaffrey with that offense, and without McCaffrey playing at CMC level, they take a huge step back. They are not the same dominant force. The thing is, I mean, stopping McCaffrey is one of the hardest things to do in football, right? He's an all-time great, in my opinion. So I think if they can, seriously, shut him down, that they win pretty convincingly, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely a contender for game of the year, in my opinion. It could be.
So.
It could be.
Yeah.
And potentially, to some people, a Super Bowl preview. But moving on from that,
I do know a team that potentially could be a foe of the Ravens come playoff time, because they are getting hot and only getting hotter, is the Buffalo Bills. This past week, they dominated, some may say the best team in the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys, 31-10. They are on a 2-game win streak. They beat the Chiefs the following week and then they lost in overtime in a kind of just a throw-up game, 50-50 ball game to the Eagles. And then they also dominated the Jets the week before then. So, over the past 4 weeks, the Bills have looked so good. They have looked extremely, extremely good. They're kind of, I know they had some drama even just a few weeks back with Stephon Diggs, and it seems like they're kind of smoothing out all the issues and getting ready just in time for the playoffs. If they can sneak in, as of right now, if the season ended today, if the season ended today, the Bills would not be in. So they are tied with the Bengals and the Colts, but just truly they would not be in. If they are able to sneak in somehow, this could be huge, because someone like Josh Allen hasn't been to a Super Bowl, but he has made his way through the AFC playoffs. He knows what it takes to win. Maybe. I guess you could technically say he doesn't know what it takes to win, but he's played in those big time moments before. What a matchup that could potentially be if the Ravens, which obviously the Ravens would get a first round bye, but even if it's the second round, if the Ravens were to go up against the Bills, that's 2 great quarterbacks, I mean, really, the Bills have a really good defense too. So like two really good defenses as well. That could be a matchup. I mean, Josh, have you been keeping up with the Bills? Do you like exactly what they got going on? Do you like that? I mean, it does kind of seem like they're starting to mesh a little bit better than what they were back a month ago.
Yeah, yeah. Personally, I still don't like how inconsistent Josh Allen can be as far as his turnovers go. But for the past few weeks, he's been playing really good. What I do know, though, for a fact, is giving Josh Allen the game ball over James Cook in this most recent game against the Cowboys is crazy. Because James Cook had a career day, 25 carries, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, and then 2 receptions for 42 yards and a touchdown. To go to Josh Allen's 7 completions on 15 attempts for 94 yards and a touchdown. To give the game ball to Josh Allen there is wild, in my opinion. I think James Cook should have gotten it for sure. But hey, I don't know what. I guess Josh Allen is the leader of that team, I suppose. But it is what it is what it is. But yeah, I personally have liked what I've seen from the Bills. At the beginning of the season, or just a few weeks ago, honestly, you and me were talking about how disappointing they've been, and now they've ever since we talked about how disappointing they've been, they've seemingly flipped it around. So somebody there must have heard us say something, because they
were definitely listening to the podcast.
Yeah,
100%.
for sure.
They were definitely
listening. The way they turned it around, I mean, it's impressive. And yeah, we'll see how the rest of their season goes, but I mean it's a pretty favorable end to the season. They end the season with the Chargers, Patriots, and then the Dolphins. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Even then, so right now, really, if I'm not mistaken, it's the top 7 teams getting to the playoffs, right?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it's the top 7. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's top 7. So right now, the Bengals, the Colts, the Texans, and the Bills are all tied for 8 and 6. The Bills are technically the worst out of all 4 of those teams. But the Bengals play the Steelers this upcoming week. The Colts have themselves a big game, I believe.
They play the Falcons.
That's not really as big of a game as I thought it was. But if something were to happen, the Steelers beat the Bengals and the Colts fall. Just like that, if the Bills can pull off a win this upcoming week, we could easily see them just like that back into the playoffs, where literally 3 weeks ago, we would have never, we could have pretty much said we could throw them up for elimination. So, I mean, I've always been a fan of Josh Allen. He's somebody that I just like. I like him as a player. He doesn't really seem too cocky off the field. So I've always liked Josh Allen. I've always rooted for Josh Allen. And I just wish them nothing but the best coming up for these, I think, 3 more weeks, I believe. I think there's 3 more weeks left in the season. So, yeah, like you said, it's favorable in their season, the rest of their season, and we'll just have to see what exactly plays out.
Yeah. All right. So, got to talk about it. The Eagles seemingly have gone from the best team in the NFL to, out of nowhere, kind of falling from grace. They started off with the loss to the 49ers, and then they lost to the Cowboys, and then they lost to the Seahawks. They're now on a 3-game losing streak and going into their next game against the Giants, which they should win, which they have an extremely easy end of the schedule. The end of the year for them is extremely easy. Like, if they drop one of these next 3, I'll be impressed, to be honest. Like, I won't be confused or mad or upset. Like, I'll be genuinely impressed if they drop one of these last 3. for the record, they play the Giants twice this upcoming week, then they play the Cardinals, then the Giants again.
That's insane.
Yeah,
That's
so
insane.
so they extremely easy into the season. But Parker, what are your thoughts on the Eagles, and what do you think is going wrong? I know before you do say anything, I do know this week Jalen Hurts was dealing with a sickness of some kind, so that's fine. But other than that, in the other two games and this week as well, what have you noticed that's been going wrong?
I mean, the obvious thing, which you look at the box score of the Seahawks game this past week. Hurts went 17 for 31, 143 yards, no passing touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. But then he did make up for it carries-wise. He had 13 carries for 82 yards and 2 touchdowns.
His best rush game of the season.
So you look at it and you're like, well, did he play bad? And to answer that, yes, he did play bad, in my opinion. He did run the ball well, and he did score 2 touchdowns. You can give him that credit. But I think this also goes back to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in the past years that I've talked about, not on the podcast, but just talked about out in publicly. They are if you are so dependent on your quarterback also being your lead rusher and to make plays with his feet and not his arms, it's not going to get you anywhere. We've seen it multiple times, and really look at all the great rushers and collectively how many of them have Super Bowls. Not many, if any at all. So, I mean, Jalen Hurts, 17 for 31, 143 yards and 2 touchdowns, that's not going to cut it. And really, it's really not going to cut it when you kind of say, like, this team might have the best receiving core in the NFL. I mean, you have A.J. Brown, who some could say he's the best receiver in football. I wouldn't personally say it, but some people may. Devontae Smith, a former Heisman winner, has done nothing but quiet doubters, quieted myself. I didn't think he was going to be as good as he was, but he is. Dallas Goedert, who's a great tight end. You have a veteran in Julio Jones on the team, which is, take it as you will. But, I mean, you have a really good receiving core. So it's not like the Chiefs, what the Chiefs have going on, where Mahomes throws them right in the chest and they're just dropping it. It's not like that. They have great receivers. So you got to kind of more or less point your finger to Jalen Hurts and say, why aren't you winning these games? Why aren't you getting it done?
I have a question for you, Parker.
Yeah, what's up?
Have you seen Cam Newton's whole debate on game managers versus game changers?
No.
Okay, I'll try my best to summarize it. What he said was that game changers are players like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, Aaron Rodgers. Those are the only 3 that I can remember, but I know he named a couple more people. And obviously he just said those are people that you can throw on really any team. They'll make that team instantly better, whatever. And then he said there's elite game managers. And he said names like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott. Those are the only 4 that I can remember. Which I personally wouldn't say Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. I'd take them out of that group. I'd put them in the game changer category. But
right,
basically what he said was with the elite game manager is that they have all this talent around them and they won't lose you games. They'll do everything right. They'll do everything perfect to win you the games, but they won't lose you the games either. But they're also not going to do anything over the top, take all these deep shots or scramble out of the pocket to keep a play alive or, anything that you can think of that Mahomes or Lamar might do to win their team the game, I guess, in a sense. He's pretty much saying that here's a better way to put it. The game changers are the guy on their team. When you think of that team, that's the person you think of. A game manager is when you think of that team, you think of multiple other players before you get to that QB. For example, the Niners. You don't think of Brock Purdy first. You think of probably more defensive players, or even Kittle or Debo or CMC before you even think of Purdy. With Dak Prescott, you probably think of CeeDee Lamb, multiple defensive players before you even get to Dak. So, that only leads me to this question. Do you think Jalen Hurts is a game changer or just an elite game manager?
I think that he is a elite manager, but I guess using your kind of matrix there, I think of the Eagles, I do think of Jalen Hurts. He is the first person that I think of when it comes to that team. But I think that, and he even, the team, a player that just made it to the Super Bowl, I don't think that you throw him on this Chiefs team, and I think that they are worse than what they are now. Jalen Hurts doesn't have Patrick Mahomes. He's not a Patrick Mahomes. It's gonna really ruffle some feathers to say that, but I mean, I would not put Jalen Hurts in the highest tier. I really wouldn't. I mean, he's athletic. He's a freak athlete. He's fast. He's quick. He's elusive. There's so many good things about Jalen Hurts, and maybe he will. He's still young. He's still a young quarterback, but I would even put Dak Prescott above Jalen Hurts. And you know this more than anybody, how much I have hated on Dak Prescott this whole season. I would put Dak Prescott above Jalen Hurts. I would put a healthy Joe Burrow ahead of Jalen Hurts. I wouldn't put Josh Allen. I would not say Josh Allen is there. Now, last year or the year before, yeah, definitely. But this year, he's kind of fallen off, and I think everybody kind of knows that. So I wouldn't put him there. But there are a select few quarterbacks that are definitely above Jalen Hurts. And so, yeah, to answer your question, I would put him as an elite game manager, but not a game changer. If my point did make any sense at all to you.
No, yeah, it made sense, and I'll tell you this. If you really want to know what my opinion on it is, I'll tell you this. It's going to be a hot take, maybe, but that's what we're here for, isn't it?
Take his whistle.
If you swap Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes in last year's Super Bowl, the Eagles are blowing out the Chiefs, offensively, and whatever happened on defense happened on defense. But the Eagles are blowing out the Chiefs if you swap the quarterbacks.
I agree. And look, Mahomes has had a down year this year.
Which, by the way,
there's no doubt.
Just real quick, by the way, though, Hurts played phenomenal in that Super Bowl. Just to put it out there. But if we're saying swap the QBs, I don't think Hurts is doing near what he did in the Super Bowl than what he did do.
Mahomes has had a down year, definitely. There's no doubt about it. Just looking at his stats, looking at his interceptions, I feel like the dude has 2+ turnovers a game this year. And I don't mean to glaze, I guess, as you said earlier. I don't mean to glaze. Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the league. There's no doubt about it. If you watch a Chiefs game, and Travis Kelce isn't safe from this either. Travis Kelce is just as responsible as other players on this team. You watch a Chiefs game, Mahomes will throw the ball and hit these receivers right in the chest or right in the hands, and they still find a way to not catch the ball. The ball somehow ends up on the ground, and you don't know how. You were like, these are professional NFL players. They get paid millions upon millions to catch a football. And they cannot do that when you are the best quarterback in the league is thrown into them. It does, because they're, I think, 8-5. I believe, I could be wrong on that, but I think so. you can't sit there and say that it's 100% on Mahomes, because at the end of the day, Mahomes is only a quarterback. He's not a receiver. He's not a running back. He's not a defensive player. All he can do is put the ball at specific spots, which he has done. And his receivers just have not been able to make a play. And again, that also includes Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is getting a little bit older. He is, I think, 33, 34 years old, something around that age. But he is getting older, and that might be playing a factor. But they don't really have a playmaker on their team that isn't Patrick Mahomes offensively. So you can't blame it all on Mahomes. You can't blame it all on Andy Reid, because they're just... I think that they have gotten away with it in the past, like last year's Super Bowl win. They did get away with not having the best roster on paper. This year, I think it has finally caught up with them, definitely, in my opinion. It definitely has shown that they are not going to win with a JV squad and Patrick Mahomes. But regardless, at the end of the day, Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. I don't know if you feel the same way. I don't know if you have somebody else you put over him. But I think leaps and bounds, Mahomes is still the best player. And if Mahomes was on that Eagles team last year, the Eagles win 100%, especially with that loaded squad they had. I mean, both teams were loaded at the end of the day, but especially that Eagles team, they had no business losing it. And I think if Mahomes was on that team, Philadelphia would have definitely won.
Yeah, I agree. And to answer your question, if you're talking like this year specifically, then I could definitely give you a guy that I think is better than Mahomes. But if we're just talking in general,
well,
then
he's having a. I say in general.
No, yeah,
not all time.
In general, he's definitely still the best QB in the NFL for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely having a down year this year. But I was just talking like in the league. I guess potentially you could say Aaron Rodgers, but I mean the dude is old. I don't know if we don't know really what he looks like, but
there's I could get some hate for this, but there's an argument that Mahomes is already better than Aaron Rodgers all time.
Oh shit! Forget that. You know, I have a buddy of mine who is a avid believer that Mahomes is already the greatest quarterback of all time.
He's not. He's not. I'm sorry, but he's not. He got fathered by Tom Brady, so he's not. Yeah. But
Twice.
Yeah, because I think in his sophomore year he lost the AFC Championship to Brady when he was still on the Patriots.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he never beat Brady in the playoffs. I don't think, unless they played. Yeah, no, he never beat Brady in the playoffs. They only matched up twice, I think, to be fair. But he got shit on pretty nicely in both of them, which that's not really his fault. Obviously, defense goes into it and weapons and everything like that. But he had Tyreek and Kelce back in that day, so like, you know, that is what it is. Even in that Super Bowl, he had Tyreek and Kelce. Like that offense was so high powered when they played Brady, and they just got shut down. Again, that was more so the defense, but
I'm taking a prime Tom Brady over anybody.
Yeah, so am I. There's just, like, you can't beat his resume. You just can't. Like his resume is unbeatable. And
I mean, I'm taking him over Joe Montana, Troy Aikman, Dan Marino, any of those players, any of those quarterbacks, those all-time Mount Rushmore quarterbacks. I think is it Mount Rushmore? Yeah. Any of those quarterbacks, I am taking a prime Tom Brady over him. I don't even know. I mean, there is a world where Mahomes can be a better quarterback all time than Brady, but
listen, by the
performances like this year,
by the end of Mahomes' career, I'm so positive that there will be a good argument for him by the end of his career. Mahomes still has, I mean, hopefully Mahomes still has like damn near 10 more years in him. Hopefully. I mean, if he can, if he can play nearly as long as Brady, then I mean, there's going to be a great argument for him, especially if he keeps winning these Super Bowls, having good playoff performances. The way he's doing, he's on a great track to get there. But as of right now, in his 6th season in the NFL, I think he doesn't touch Brady. He doesn't touch Brady. And I don't think Mahomes would say that either. I'm pretty sure Mahomes is on record saying Brady is the GOAT. So, I mean, now, just to finish off my point, I'll say this. If you ask me what quarterback am I taking, I have 2 minutes left on the clock, no timeouts, and I need a touchdown to win the game, no hesitation, I'm taking Brady. No hesitation, I'm taking Brady.
God, Brady is.
Now, if you ask me if I have 30 seconds left on the clock, and like I don't know how many timeouts they had, maybe they had like 1 or 2, I might take Mahomes.
No, not even. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers.
That was a joke.
I'm taking Aaron Rodgers.
That was a joke.
But still, no.
Call back to their overtime win against the Bills last year.
I would say Tom Brady is the greatest one athlete, or not, I shouldn't say athlete because he's not a good athlete.
One sport.
He is the best one player at his individual position than any other player has ever been at another position. I don't know if that makes sense. So, like, I'm taking Tom Brady at quarterback over Michael Jordan at shooting guard. Or I'm taking Tom Brady over Clayton Kershaw in pitching. Or Shohei Ohtani at pitching. I think that at every single position, if there was a position, if we had to rank each person at their own position, Tom Brady is the best out of all athletes, out of all positions there are in sports. Tom Brady is the GOAT of GOATs, in my opinion.
I mean, dude,
he really is.
When you got a sport that in total has 21 different positions on the field at least one time, and pretty unanimously you could have all 21 guys say that you're the GOAT of the sport. I mean, football is a sport. Every sport is a sport with multiple positions, but football has some of the most variety as far as position goes. I mean, you look at basketball, you have 5 positions. And then you look at football and you have 21 different positions. And to have people from each position say that you're the GOAT and not somebody at their position or somebody on their side of the ball for that matter, that says something.
Yeah. I think it's a dumb argument at the end of the day. And like you said, maybe if Mahomes plays as long as Brady, there is probably a chance that there's a valid argument for it. But I'm
sure there will be.
Mahomes is still really young,
he
is.
He is.
Like, he is still fairly young to sit there and say that he is already the GOAT. Now, you could say that he's on track to be the GOAT. That's more of a realistic argument. Especially, you know what? You could even say, like, Tom Brady up until this point and Patrick Mahomes up until this point. You could even say Mahomes is better up until this point in their careers. But all in all, how Brady just continued to play year in and year out and played at a high level and continued to win Super Bowls and perform in the playoffs.
Which I'm pretty sure like isn't true, by the way, because I'm pretty sure at 6 years in, Brady had three Super Bowls already, or some shit like that.
How many does Mahomes?
Mahomes has 2.
Oh wow! So yeah, okay. But I mean, even then, didn't Brady sat for a year? No.
Yeah, he was the. Here, I'll look it up real quick.
I really don't know. We were like not born yet. At the beginning of Brady's career.
Yeah.
So
and then he played until we were 19.
Right. So I don't exactly know the stats, but I just know that it would be a lot closer of an argument for sure to say that up until this point that Mahomes has been better, but I don't think there's an argument to be made for entire career.
Okay, so he was drafted in the 2000 draft. So the 2000 to 2001 season, he was a rookie. The year after his rookie year, the 01 going into 02 year, he led him to the Super Bowl and won Super Bowl MVP in his sophomore year, which... Did Mahomes do that too? I can't remember if Mahomes did that too. I think Mahomes might have done that too.
Give me 1 second. I'm looking up his stats. Okay, what was your question?
Did he win the Super Bowl in his sophomore year?
I don't know. He won it in 2019 was his first win.
Okay, so no, he didn't. It's that was his like fourth year in the because he was drafted in 2017.
17.
So it was his sophomore, or is that his third year? Is that his third year?
That's his third year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so at the point that Mahomes is in right now, which he's in his 7th year. What year is he in?
Something like from 2017, so 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. This is his 6th
Okay,
year.
so by the time he hit his 6th year, Mahomes is at 2 championships. By Brady's 6th year, he was at 3 championships. And
Really? Wow.
yeah, and let's see here. Just real quick. Honestly, this is just for like personal knowledge at this point. I just want to see if he won Super Bowl MVP in all of them. He did. He won Super Bowl MVP in every single one of them too. So,
just for
which
the sake
Mahomes
of
is. Yeah, Mahomes has too. So, I mean, to have 2 championships in 6 years is crazy to begin with.
How many?
To have 3?
Many? In the first 6 years, how many regular season MVPs did Brady have? Did he have 3, or did he only have 2, or did he have none?
He doesn't have many. He doesn't have many, to be honest. He had 2 within his first 6 years.
So Mahomes as well.
So same as Mahomes, yeah. And then after his first 6 years, he went on to have 3 more.
So he had 5 MVPs. That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And man, and one of his MVPs was actually the year they beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So beat him out for the MVP that year and the Super Bowl champion. But moving on from this, honestly, at the end of the day, very stupid argument.
Something that would never be settled.
Yeah, seriously. People will say Mahomes is the GOAT for years. People will always say Brady's the GOAT. It's endless.
It's like Jordan versus MJ.
It's endless.
Or I'm sorry, Jordan versus Braun.
Yeah. But moving on from that, you want to talk some Christmas? Huh?
Christmas. Let's
talk
Christmas.
All right.
Christmas.
What matchups for this upcoming week do you have marked as, let's say, key matchups?
Well, I mean, we already talked about the big one. I think that if you are a football fan, you are more than likely going to be watching that game, which is the Ravens and 49ers. But besides that game, because we did already kind of spend some time on it, there is I would say a lot of really good matchups. You know, I'm just gonna run through a couple of them. So you have the Saints and the Rams that are both 7-7, both trying to get potentially that last spot into the
playoffs,
into the NFC playoffs. So both of them are sitting at 7-7. I think the Rams right now are in. So that's a crazy matchup. You have the Bengals and the Steelers, both in not only the same division, but both of them are right there on the cup of being in or out of the playoffs. The Bengals are 8-6, and the Steelers are 7-7. You have the Browns and the Texans, and the 9-5 Browns going against the 8-6 Texans. The Lions and the Vikings.
Which that Browns Texans game might lose a little bit of flair because C.J. Stroud is actually going to miss that game. So,
is it already confirmed he's not playing?
Yeah, the Texans are going to be a little down for that game.
Yeah. The Jaguars and the Buccaneers. The Jaguars are 8-6, and the Buccaneers are 7-7. And
can I just say real quick,
we
haven't talked about them much, but Baker Mayfield has had quite honestly an impressive season. Like, I don't think anybody expected the Buccaneers to be 7-7, and I'm pretty sure like if they win this game, like they'll be in the playoff hunt or the playoff race. Like, I don't think anybody expected that from the Buccaneers this year.
Well, right now they because they lead their division, so they're in the playoffs right now.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I don't think anybody expected that from the Bucs. I think people probably expected them to be one of the worst in the league, and they're doing very well.
Where they're at right now, they have home field advantage for the first round of the playoffs too, which is crazy to think about. At 7-7,
and Baker's having a great season. I just looked up his stats for the first time ever. He's doing incredible. 3,315 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. He's doing great. Good for Baker, man.
I've always been a fan of Baker, even when he was back at Oklahoma. You know, I've always liked Baker. I know he got a little crazy sometimes, and I think that's why I kind of liked him a little bit more, because he wasn't afraid to kind of speak his mind. I have always been a fan of Baker Mayfield. What sucks, though, is... Now, I could be wrong, but I think regardless, more than likely, he's not the long-term answer in Tampa. I think this might just kind of... This will help him go to the next team that is in desperate need for a quarterback for 1 year. But unfortunately, I think that the Buccaneers will try to go after something this year in the draft class. But yeah, I think this is good for his career as a whole instead of, like... Because let's be honest, his career was dying quickly, and this was kind of a little bit of a resurgence.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I think they might go ahead and stick with him. I think they could potentially take a quarterback down the board, but I don't think they're gonna move up to take a quarterback. At least not with the competition they're gonna have to deal with to trade up, especially with how good he's doing. I think it really benefits him having the targets or the targets that he does. He's never had targets like Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. He's never had top tier talent like that at the receiver position. Mm-hmm. And to have that finally, I think it's really benefiting him, and he's playing really good because of it.
Right now, which I do, to end off the episode, I do want to spend a little bit of time, but we can talk about it a little bit later. This mock draft where they don't even have their first round pick.
Oh.
The Bears actually have that pick.
Oh, of course they do.
So I mean,
wait, why do they have that pick? What trade did they do that caused that?
It just says trade from Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 20th overall pick.
Oh.
So, I don't know. Probably something. I know the Bears were really active last year, so it could have been something there. So, I mean, that could be the answer potentially. But what I'm saying is, I mean, do you think that Mayfield is legitimately the long-term answer? And when I say long-term, is like somebody that could be the starter in Tampa for the next 4 years?
I think what they might do is I don't know what contract he has, but I think what they might do is they might pass on a QB this draft, at least first round wise goes. And then I think what they'll probably do is give Baker another year to see how he does. And if he plays the same or even better than what he did this year, I think they might give him a longer contract and then just build around him. That's my opinion. Obviously, I could be wrong because I'm not a professional, but that is what I think they might do.
Yeah. I know. Just like I said, I'm a fan of Baker. I hope to see him succeed, and if it's not in Tampa, it's somewhere else. In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see here. Do you have any other Christmas matchups that you want to get into? I know we kind of talked about the Ravens 49ers a lot earlier, so we don't have to get into that one, but
Yeah, the Cowboys and the Dolphins, which maybe some people could potentially say is another Super Bowl preview game. I think this is a stretch, but you never know. Me personally, I am gonna go with. I would say the Dolphins win this game. I really do. I think they are just. Because they don't have a pushover defense at all. Their defense is not a pushover. They have a really good defense, and we've seen it in the past. We know that the Cowboys struggle against tough defenses. And obviously, we already know how amazing the Dolphins' offense can be. I don't know if Tyreek Hill is playing. I'm sure he would. He is. It looks like on the sideline this past week, Tyreek was. He was feeling good. It wasn't like he had a limp or anything like that, or struggling, not there. Like, he was up, moving around the entire time. So I would say that Tyreek Hill is good to go.
he was very close to playing, according to reports.
Yeah. So I think that Tyreek Hill should be good to go by, especially Sunday. So I think the Dolphins have the edge in that matchup, and I think the Dolphins will win that.
I'm gonna go the opposite direction. I would take the Cowboys. I just think the Cowboys are better, like, overall as far as offense and defense goes. I don't think the Dolphins' defense will be able to stop that offense. But it is in Miami, so I guess it's kind of up in the air. If Tyreek doesn't play, I think the Dolphins definitely lose. I think their chances skyrocket though if Tyreek does play.
Yeah.
But anyways,
do you think your Vikings are gonna pull out this win against Detroit? It is in Minnesota, but it is a huge matchup for them as they are right on the cusp of being out of the playoffs. I think they are in as well if the season ended today. But yeah, there's a lot of teams on there.
It's a very important game. I kind of hinted at it earlier, but we're having QB troubles right now.
Yes,
the man we traded for, the Mr. Pastronaut himself, is now the third string quarterback out of nowhere, and Nick Mullins is now the starting quarterback. Almost got the win last week, but unfortunately couldn't figure it out in the long run and finish off with the win. Lost 27-24 in OT against the Bengals. Obviously this one's way more important because we're playing the division leader in the Detroit Lions. Honestly, I think it could personally, I think it could be a good game. And the reason I say that is because the Lions have looked fairly rough against division competition this year. They've shared a loss with our fellow competition, the Packers and the Bears. They're 1-1 against both teams on the year. We finished the year playing the Lions twice. So if they follow that path and they go 1-1 with us, then we'll win one of them, but I think both games are very winnable because I think the Lions have shown cracks in their game, and I think if that we can take advantage of it, then I think we'll be okay. But our game last week this most recent week was our highest scoring game in a couple weeks. We had a couple weeks where we couldn't get points on the board, and it was really bad. But we sort of figured it out last week. Hopefully the QB play is fine because that matters a lot. and hopefully the defense can stop the Lions because that offense is definitely high-powered. And Jahmyr Gibbs scares me because he's a great runner. He's an outstanding running back, and if he gets going, then he gets going, and it could be scary.
Why? Now, I know that Dobbs did not play very well, but do you think that not only making him the third string, or not only just benching him, but all the way making him the third string is a little too much? Because, I mean, he did, if I'm not mistaken, he either won you guys 2 or 3 matchups, no?
Yeah. He won his first 2 with us, I believe.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I know that he struggled, but do you think him moving all the way down to third string is pretty harsh?
I think it is a little much. I don't really know what happened to cause that, but obviously they did it for a reason. I don't know why, but I guess they saw something in the way he played in the last 2 games before he got benched, and they didn't like it, and so they decided to do something about it. But excuse me. But it is what it is. It is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But off of that note, do you want to talk about some mock draft before we round things up here?
Yes. So I want to go over this specific mock draft that had just came out by CBS Sports because it is pretty insane, especially from what I just read. So, this mock draft is crazy. So, you remember just a few moments ago when I said the Bears have the 20th pick?
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong. So, the Buccaneers do own their own pick. But they think that the Bears will trade for that pick and give up Justin Fields for that pick to Tampa, which is even crazier than I initially thought.
What mock draft are you looking at, by the way?
It's by CBS Sports. It is by Chris Trapasso.
Okay.
I don't know how to
Are
say
you aware that there's a more recent one on the 14th?
I was just looking at this one that was posted. Is it another one posted by him?
No, it's posted by a completely different person. I just Oh, okay. I just didn't know if you were going off of this specific one or if you were trying to look at the most recent one. I'm sorry.
No, just I was looking at this because I didn't know about that, but just overall this mock draft is absolutely
right.
insane.
Gotcha.
Like,
Okay,
really.
yeah.
So I guess that's the first thing we can talk about. Do you think that we could really see the Bears give up Fields for the 20th overall pick?
No, I don't. This guy doesn't watch ball.
I don't either.
Justin Fields has been playing very well the past few weeks. He's been playing really good. Now, I will say, when this mock draft came out, I don't think it got released in the middle of last week. So I guess you could say that they could have done it realistically, but this last week that Justin Fields had, I think he kind of shut down any chance of him being shipped out because he's playing really good, and honestly, I'm a Fields fan. I think Justin Fields is their guy. I think it would be extremely stupid for them to get rid of him to go for somebody like Caleb Williams or Drake May.
Yeah,
it just doesn't seem plausible to me.
With that first pick, they do have Drake May being picked up by the Bears,
which no. Like that yeah, that wouldn't happen. You know what we should do, Parker? For
make our own
for an after Christmas special on next Tuesday or whenever I guess we get the next NFL episode, it should just be dedicated to us. The whole episode should just be us making our own mock draft.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm down. The second pick by the Patriots, they have Jaden Daniels being taken. Now, does that seem, to me, it really does seem more reasonable.
It seems slightly more reasonable, but again, no, that wouldn't happen. If they trade up to take a quarterback, I am highly confident that it would be either Caleb Williams or Drake May, especially if we're talking top two.
Which I think the Patriots right now, they have the second pick. They don't have to trade up for it.
Yeah, they have the second pick. So if they keep that second pick, which it looks like they will, I don't see them taking anybody except for Drake May and Caleb Williams. We've seen them take some questionable people in the past, so they could take Jaden Daniels for sure. But if we're talking, I don't know, if they're factoring in age, then I would say they're definitely going to take May or Caleb Williams. I personally, I don't think Daniels goes in the top 5. Personally, but
in this they have Caleb Williams fell all the way to 6.
Which
with a 6 overall.
which I don't think would happen, like at all. I honestly, if that happened, I think he'd probably just withdraw from the draft and go back to college for his senior year. He's super weird. Did you have you seen all the things about him saying like whoever drafts him, he wants part ownership in the team and shit?
I did.
Yeah, he's a weird guy. I don't know. I could definitely just see him getting drafted to somewhere he doesn't want to go and then be like, I'll go back to college.
Yeah.
But
I guess he has it like that. Whenever you are that highly touted.
Yeah, I mean Eli Manning did it. Eli Manning got drafted by the Chargers and then pretty much told him nope. And then they were pretty much forced to trade him to the Giants. But
speaking of,
I was just gonna say I don't see Caleb Williams dropping out of the top 5. I think if he does drop out of the top 2, which again I don't think will happen, I think if he drops out of the top 2, somebody is gonna trade up into the top 5 to take him.
Yeah. Speaking of the Giants, I actually love this. For whatever reason, I love it. They have the 8th overall pick, and they pick up Brock Bowers. I think that is an amazing pickup. Maybe not for necessarily for Bowers' career. Who knows? But simply an offense that is just struggling, at the end of the day. An offense that is struggling so bad. I think that would be a humongous pickup for just the entire organization.
Yeah, I also really like that pick. I think Brock Bowers to the Giants is great. If you really wanted to, you could have him sit behind Waller for a year until Waller inevitably gets injured with a little ankle sprain or something, and then you put him in for the rest of the year.
Or just fails another drug test.
Yeah, well, he hasn't done that in a while, but I mean, I guess it's definitely possible. But I don't want to put that out there in the universe. But super injury prone though, like among other things, just super injury prone. And so if he were to, twist his ankle or knee or something, then you could just lunge Brock Bowers in there, and he seems like one of the most NFL ready guys in this draft class.
Okay.
Another pick I really like is Joe Alt, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame to the Jets. I think with Aaron Rodgers coming back, I think they should really bulk up that O-line. Because, as much as it sucks to say, Mekhi Becton can't stay healthy at all. He's a great offensive tackle when he's healthy, but he can't stay healthy. And so I think if you take another offensive tackle that hopefully can stay healthy and is very good on top of that, then you're looking at you're looking at the start of a very good O-line over there in New York.
Okay.
Another pick that I really like, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I Malik Nabers to the Tennessee. I think that's amazing because, Hopkins is Levis's go-to target. He's getting up there in age. They need that kind of just 1-2 punch for Levis, and I think that Nabers could really much, he is a little bit shorter in the height side. He's only 6 foot, but I like that pick from LSU going to Tennessee.
Yeah, and if you're neighbors, I would want to learn from somebody like D-Hop because, in all honesty, they kind of have the same build. Not too tall, but not short either. They both have have amazing jump ball ability. They both have great route running, and Neighbors could learn so much from D-Hop, and he could be elite just from even a year of learning under D-Hop. And I'll say this, I don't think D-Hop only has 1 year left in him. So that could be a great duo for a few years, to be honest. And that's a duo that could turn Levis elite. Obviously, they'd have to build some more around him as far as offensive line goes, and then potentially get a good running back in there, because I think Derrick Henry could be finding his way out of there this offseason, but that's another conversation. Another pick that I really like, though, which I've kind of been preaching about it all season. I mean, in past episodes of the pod, I've even gave hypothetical trade situations for this franchise. But Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals is such a great fit. It's just such a great fit. Him, Hollywood, and Rondale Moore is such an underrated trio, in my opinion, with Kyler Murray at quarterback, because Kyler Murray is still a great quarterback. And if they can get a tall receiver with great jump ball ability, I mean, generational jump ball ability, and great route running, great deep threat, he's just everything, all packaged into one, and he's tall. And so I think that's a great fit for him.
Oh, yeah, I think it's amazing, especially if you just think 3 years from now. I think that is going to be a crazy, crazy receiving.
Yeah, and they also have another first-round pick as well. So if they really wanted to, they could bulk up the O-line a little bit more, or they could draft a top-tier defensive player if they wanted to. So, they have options available in the first round still after they do use their third-round pick.
Mm-hmm. I know another one that I don't know if I like it that much, just because they already, which I know that this one, they just had a lot of injuries, but pick 18, Keon Coleman from Florida State going to the Bengals. That is already a loaded wide receiver room. I feel like Coleman he could have a place in that team, but he is going to be battling for a while to jump, obviously Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins and also Tyler Boyd. I don't know if I like that fit.
Yeah, I think the reason why this reporter specifically did that is because T. Higgins, it's his last year in Cincinnati, at least until his contract's up and he has to negotiate a new contract. And if they do just so happen to get a guy like Keon Coleman, I don't think they'd re-sign T. Higgins. I think they'd probably just bring in Keon Coleman as a T. Higgins replacement. So I think that's why this guy did that. But if we sit here and assume that T. Higgins does re-sign a deal, then yeah, I don't like that fit at all. And I think Keon Coleman's better somewhere else.
Yeah. How about Bo Nix to your Vikings at pick 22? You like that?
I like it. He's on the older side, but
he's quite old.
If I'm under the impression that if we draft a rookie quarterback in this class, at least if it's one of the bigger names, I'm under the impression that we'd probably just start them, like outright. We'd probably just start them to start the year. And Bo Nix is one of the ones I'd probably trust a little more, just because he doesn't have an injury history like Michael Penix Jr. He has a very great pedigree as far as top-tier talent, as in he's been very good for multiple years at the college level. He was in the Heisman race this year. I think he finished third after he lost to Michael Penix Jr. The second time. I think he fell all the way to third. But a great quarterback, and yeah, I like him personally. I really like him. He is on the older side, but like I said, I'm under the impression that he'd start straight out the gate. So I like the fit. He doesn't have to travel far from Oregon, and yeah, I like it. I think he'd be a great fit here, and plus, I think he'd look pretty good in purple.
It's a very interesting one. Just simply for the fact that, like, I mean, you see it with Stetson Bennett. He just doesn't really have a place in the league right now, and it might change, but you just see, like, kind of just history shows that, like, the older quarterbacks, really, we never see someone that old as far as a quarterback, get drafted in the first round, let alone 20.
I think the difference,
whatever it was.
I think the difference is Stetson Bennett was like kind of strictly a pocket passer. He didn't really have any scrambling ability. Bo Nix has scrambling ability and pocket passing ability. He's like Bo Nix is kind of a dual threat quarterback if you think about it. He can really do both sides of it. And I think that's the big difference between him and a guy like Stetson Bennett. And I think that's a thing that a lot of teams are seeing in the two people, because I mean Stetson Bennett, the guy led the guy led the Bulldogs to back-to-back championships and was still drafted in like the 6th round. So
Like, yeah.
And then we're looking at this draft, and you've got Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, who are both like 23 or 24 going in the 1st round. And I think that's strictly just because of how good they are at both running and passing, and how good they both look, at least to the eye, as far as modern NFL ability goes at the quarterback position.
I see. That makes sense. That does make sense.
Yeah.
That was laid out perfectly.
Yeah. The last pick that I am very interested in, that I like, Cooper DeJean, the white corner from Iowa,
Yeah.
projected to go in the 1st round. Doing us proud, man. Doing us proud. I mean, I personally,
Baltimore too.
yeah, and to Baltimore,
That's a big place to go
yeah,
to.
I didn't, yeah, exactly. That's why I like it so much, is because I think if he goes to a team like Baltimore, he gets to learn behind a guy like Marlon Humphreys, and, oh God, this is a bad look for me. They have another. He could learn from Kyle Hamilton, really. I know he's a safety, but he's been in the league for a couple of years now, and he's turned into an elite safety. I mean, one of the best safeties in the league, personally, if I had to say so. So he's learning from some of the great DBs in the league, and he's got other defensive players around him to learn from, learn the game, and on top of that, I mean, he practically is Iowa. Like, he was born there, he went to Iowa, and now he's incredible. I mean, he really is, like, really good. And
Yeah.
I mean, being projected in the 1st round pretty unanimously by every site is a big thing. And I mean, I've seen some people that have him being taken as high as the top 15. So I think he could be really good on a fit like the Ravens, but I also personally don't think he'll be on the board that late. I think he'll probably get drafted higher up.
Higher than that, yeah. Okay, yeah, for sure. I really want to do what you said this past week, Josh. Or not this past week, but this upcoming week. I want to let's each individual do a 1st round mock draft and kind of just talk about our picks and stuff like that, if you're down.
Okay. I was more so thinking like we just do it live, like together, and we can just like explain the pick and just come to a decision on who we think the team would pick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Either one works. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, do you have anything else you wanna mention or get into?
At this exact moment, no. I got some college stuff to get into, but we'll get into that on Thursday. Josh, I'm sure you do as well. You always have the college information on deck, steady, ready to go. So yeah, that's about all I got.
All right. Well, as always, we appreciate you guys for listening, watching, tuning in, and we will see you guys on Thursday for the next college football episode. But again, we appreciate you guys for listening. The recent podcasts have been doing, honestly, quite well. I don't know if it's maybe like the TikTok attraction that we're getting a little bit of, or just straight up the algorithm helping us out. But regardless, we appreciate it, and we're just trying our best here. But we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Fuck a Tar Heel. Peace.